everything's wrong until you're extremely good at it.
If you're concerned about this position over time, like say, for instance, you getting taken into your strong position and you're worried about the wear and tear on your joints.
I even got into...
This is British Strongman Podcast with Josh Lancaster and Shane Jerman. Strongman programming and technical excellence for everyone. Boom. British Strongman Podcast. Josh Lancaster here and Shane Jerman. So we're here. Oh, it's on loop. We'll go with it. Today we're going to go and talk about the OSG that's coming up in a couple of weeks, or next week, in fact, at the time we're recording. So tell us a bit about how many clients have you got doing it roughly, Shane? I won't put you on the spot and say an exact number or real amount, but
I actually know the exact number. It says 17 we've got.
Brilliant. Amazing.
So we've got 17 athletes across pretty much every category, I think. So, yeah.
Wow. So I've got about 10 or 11 or something, and it's like it's great because as Flash got some people in Curtis and like
I'm including all those as well. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's what's good about this year. It shows that like how we've grown with our coaching. Like you've got your obviously you've got your team that have got athletes competing. I've got Molly who's got 2 people competing. Joe's got somebody who's competing. Tim's got somebody who's competing. So like between us, like we started this podcast in lockdown or whatever, and now we've got 20, nearly 30 people competing at official Strongman Games World. So
it's absolutely mental, really, isn't it? Especially because that's the comp that for UK, most of my, I don't know about you, but most of my clients are UK based, really.
Yeah.
And it's it's a big trip, isn't it? It's not a lot of people, want to go, but it's kind of one of those things where it's a big investment on your part as well. So to have 17 people that are going is absolutely mental. I'm really excited for OSG, Josh. I think this year looks stacked in every class, so it's gonna be real fun.
Yeah, so that's what I want to talk about actually. Like forget the coaching hat now. Like actually, just from a fan's perspective, like that's a thing about me and you. We actually love it from like the outside looking in, like beyond the coaching. Obviously, we love our coaching and competing, but actually, we're just fans of the sport. So, yeah, I thought let's have a look at the video that Joe put out this week. So let's get the.
It's the thing I heard talked about more than anything all weekend. Everyone's like, "What did you see the stone?"
I can feel the oxygen depletion from my brain. Vision is getting fuzzy.
You remember seeing this?
I'm like, oh crap, I need to load this before I sneak in, pass out, and I get crushed by the stone.
I'll make sure the back of my shoes are pretty clean, my heels are clean, so Tommy can look at them when I go past him.
I've been training for the last 2 years for this moment, right? Hope you fucking boys are ready because I'm bringing them.
Yeah! Come on!
I think main goal in sport, obviously everyone's number one goal is to be the best under 80 kilo strongman. So
some class highlights there. So yeah, that was it. That was the thing that stuck with me last year because I was watching it from the sideline, like a bit really close, watching Richie Panganiban, and obviously competing in the under 80 class. So I was like not only just watching it from a kind of fan perspective, but I was actually in there doing it and tracking the scores and seeing how close him and Tommy were on that final day, and seeing that Tommy had finished the run, and then knew that Ricky had to load that stone to win. It was just obscene.
Yeah, apparently he does that a lot. I don't know if you've heard that, but Joe told me that. Yeah, Joe told me that in training, he's quite common that he grinds a stone for fucking age. So even though it was like to everyone watching, it was like because we've seen him do this in training 10 times on the build up. So absolutely mental. But like you say, you never know with them things. You can end of a big comp, you could be that far, and then you just legs go or whatever. So it's it was a crazy moment.
And what were your other highlights? So have you seen a bit of the documentary that Joe put together? I think it's brilliant. So I'll add the link in description to the podcast and the YouTube video.
Yeah, so Joe's always obviously Joe's always sending us bits as he's been building this documentary, and I'm a big fan of the under 80 scene. Under 80 scene's one of my. I just love lightweight strongman, to be honest with you, Josh. I know you said before fans of the sport, but I'll be honest with you. I mainly follow the lightweight scene and the in the male and females, because I don't know, I just love the athletes. I just love the, I think it's a different vibe, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're a lot more gritty. There's exceptional standout performances on different events from different people. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the lightweight scene as a whole, and the under 80 scene is mental, mate. It's absolutely mad. I love it.
Yeah, if you break it down into individual lifts, there's like freaks on everything, isn't there? Like, the
under 80 deadlift standard this last 2 years has just gone like insane, hasn't it? Because really, the twins were the first people really that were kind of like consistently pulling over 300, and now you've got like 10 people, and the record's somehow 360 now. It's like, yeah, it's absolutely, it's mental. I'm just waiting for. I don't think there's been some crazy standout presser appear yet. So I'm waiting for that. But
I think Flash has got to do it, hasn't he? Like on the. I think like his like in terms of like just raw pressing strength. Like training with him recently, and just seeing it in person, like seeing
Flash's press this training block for OSG is gone. Yeah, his press for OSG is gone. I mean, it's always good, but it's gone absolutely mad. The thing with Flash is his press has always been better when he's a little bit heavier. Yeah. So it's not really carried as much over to under 80 scene. Whereas this time round for OSG, he's a lot lighter in training and hitting those numbers. So hopefully I'm hoping Flash can have a pretty standout performance on the Viking and the dumbbell.
Yeah, that was amazing seeing him do that last week. But yeah, it'd be great to see him do a big axle. And what was it he did it on the log? 150 plus in the bar.
Yeah, 150 plus strict. Yeah. I can't remember because Flash fucking weighs it and puts it down to the gram, doesn't he? He's like 153.56 it was, Shane. Stop saying 151. I'm like, sorry, mate, you're 2.3 key.
So what about the other events then? Who are your favourites for the lightweights? Like, what, just as a fan, beyond comp performances, who do you like seeing?
Who like watching? I like watching Tommy Me. I think he's fucking absolutely class. I don't know, there's just something about him. He's just a cool dude, isn't he? And he's got his own unique style. He's got that Tommy flair on everything. Like, the way he does stuff, like the way he racks a dumbbell, he puts it on his fucking face. You know what I mean? It's just everything he does. He has such good proprioception and awareness of everything that's going on. And yeah, he's just cool to watch, mate. I really like watching Tommy.
It's like his, I don't know. It's like he, I don't know. I can't articulate what I mean, but he's, I don't know. It's like he's somewhere else. It's like out of, I don't know. It's magic. It is magic. Like just watching him move and stuff is just.
Yeah, and that was one thing actually, because Tommy came to me about 5 weeks ago, because he needed help with his prep for OSG. And that was one of the things that I basically told him, because he was asking me, like, what should I change here? What should I do here? I'm trying to do this technique on this stuff. And I was like, Tommy, like, you need to just be you and, you know what I mean? Go back to what instead of trying to do stuff textbook, he performs better where he just does it his own style, his own way. And now he's kind of embraced that. He's in a good flow with training, whereas previously he was trying to like change all his unique techniques to be like textbook, and they weren't really going that well. So yeah, that's a good bit of advice, to be fair, for a lot of people, is there are definitely ways to do lifts that how you would teach them. For example, I wouldn't teach someone to dumbbell how Tommy dumbbells, but if somebody came to me already having that technique, that skill, and it worked, there wasn't anything wrong with it, then it's okay to have a unique flair. And you could always say, like, everything's wrong until you're extremely good at it. Because then what will happen is people will be like, oh, I want to learn to dumbbell like Tommy. And you can create like Strongman's a new sport. There are ways to do things that are a little bit different. And it's okay to, bend the rules a little bit and be a bit unique and put your own flair on it. Because at the end of the day, lifting's an expression of personality. And if you're a bit funky and you want to lift funky, then it's okay to do that. Yeah.
I think it links back to a thing that you said on the story that on your story recently that resonated with me, and it was about strength peak, and it was like what was it like in your off season, you work on acquiring new positions, and then in your peak you embrace the positions that you're strongest in, and just what was it? How did you? It
was say? Like hardest position. Basically, the question that came, Rich asked me a question, which was basically, on my good morning, should I wear a belt and bend my knees a little more and get in this ultimate strong position where I can good morning like 200 kilos? Or should I keep it beltless, straight a leg and as hard as possible? And I said, because we're so far away from comp, strengthen the hardest positions and variations possible. As you get closer to comp, you can... bend your knee a little more and turn it into the most powerful position so you can lift more weight.
Yeah. So, that's the thing that I encourage clients to do is like, obviously when you're getting close to comp, like embrace the position that you're like the position. If people are trying to like assume like a position like your deadlift, for instance, like that's a big one that everybody can relate to. Everybody does deadlifts. And like we've talked about it on countless times, but people like trying to keep this kind of perfect position and then or the back straight, for instance, and then it going out of the window completely when they go over like 85-90%. Whereas this position that they're getting kind of moving towards during the lift, it's usually a message. It's usually a message that that's probably your strongest position. So I think
that's such a common problem, isn't it, Josh, where people are like, oh, every time I pull 220, my back rounds and goes here and I don't know what to do. And I can do all my volume at 140 like this. And I'm like, well, maybe you're doing your volume wrong. Maybe it's the flip reverse. Maybe the top end weight that you think is wrong. Maybe that's right. Maybe your volume's wrong. And sometimes just presenting that to someone, then they go away, do the volume in that position, changes the deadlift. And then they become confident with it because it feels the same through all percents.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's like the same. I haven't got the videos handy, but I suppose like you've mentioned the twins before, using their deadlift as an example. Like when they started, it is like that they were like a lot of people say that they've got ugly technique now. Like, don't get me wrong, but like I personally think, because I'm like looking at the bar path and position that they maintain throughout the lift, like I think their technique is exceptional, to be honest, with my kind of philosophy of lifting. But like a thing that worked on with them, what they were doing when they started was that they were like getting pulled over the bar massively as they were initiating the pull, trying to keep straight-ish and then just kind of ego lifting or going heavy anyway, and then getting mauled out as they went heavier. Whereas we taught them to, right, for your neural work or your heavy work, like we're going to embrace this position that you're really, really strong and resilient in, because basically you've been lifting like what a lot of people would say, you've been lifting like an idiot for a couple of years and been getting away with it. So you've built like loads of strength and resilience in this position. So now we're going to tactically embrace that and actually get better at maintaining a semi kind of flex position all the way through the lift. And then when we're in your off season or your accessories or whatever, like we'll work on strengthening the muscles and the positions that basically make your lift prettier over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that's kind of how you articulated it in your story really well the other day. And it was basically like off season, like when you get close to comp, basically embrace your strongest positions and where you're resilient in. Yeah, and if you're getting mauled somewhere consistently, it's probably a message that you're really strong in that position very often. But then if you're concerned about this position over time, like say, for instance, you getting taken into your strong position and you're worried about the wear and tear on your joints, even though you feel like it feels really good, you feel really strong, you don't get any pain, but you think that over time you might be wearing your joints away, etc. Then in your off season or your assistance work or whatever, however you structure it, like then you can work on patterning these more beautiful or ideal looking positions. And I think it's going back to the same point what we were saying about, like you're using Tommy as an example before, like 4 weeks out from comp, like he just needs to back himself and just kind of go in with what feels right. And then and don't even think about it. Just trust all of his experience to just create the magic on the dance floor. And then after Worlds, when he's maybe prepping for the macro cycle for next year's Worlds or something, then you can kind of look at addressing all these little kind of intricate things. You said it loads of times before on here, Shane, where you've said about like you kind of I can't remember how you worded it, but you like dislike it when somebody will just come and say, right, well, make me better in 6 weeks for this comp, whereas actually you like the build is the magic's actually in the build, the like fucking years or 2 years or longer.
Yeah, because you just got to work with what you got for comp, haven't you? Basically, if you got 6 weeks, it's like, well, I can't control what's happened the last 10 months, but I've got 2 months to extract out of you whatever the hell that last 8 months did. And if that 8 months smashed you and your body's hanging on by a thread, then it's hard to extract much in it. Whereas if the last 8 months was really good and somebody's peaked and primed and ready, makes that last 2 months really, really easy, which is why when someone just comes to them last 2 months, it's kind of out of your control. But then it's a risky thing because you get all the blame, don't you? Like if you peak someone for a show for 6 weeks and it goes terribly, even though the previous phase was out of your control, still kind of comes on to you. So that's why I don't usually like doing it. But Tommy's a different case. I like Tommy and he's an animal. So plus I knew that his last coach was very good at programming. So I was having faith that, he was in good state basically.